You can win a woman over by doing the things that will. Don't ever share your feelings with a woman. A woman on her male side sucks energy out of men. Women don't know what their emotional needs are. They think they do, they don't. I've been doing this 50 years. I'm teaching them what you need. You don't get a wife unless you have a job, and you have to make enough money to support your wife and have children. The symptom of high testosterone is cool, calm, and collective. And just to know, your average male at 20 years old has 20% less testosterone than the average male 20 years ago.
Why is that, John?
Well, there's several reasons. One is that.
Hi guys, and welcome. I am talking today with Dr. John Gray, the author of Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Dr. John, it's a pleasure to have you here. Maybe you could give a little brief introduction about yourself. I'm sure most people are familiar with you, but for those that have been hiding in a cave.
Sure. I like caves. I have behind me some of the books I've written on relationships. So I've been doing this for 50 years. And the most recent one I'll be referring to a lot today is called Beyond Mars and Venus. But a really good primer as to really understand the basics of how men and women misunderstand each other is also Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And then I've got Mars, Venus on a Date, which I think we're going to talk about a lot today. I have a lot of books, Mars, Venus, Starting Over. Like if you had your heart broken, how do you start over again? What's interesting is for men, usually it's about 3 years. And for women, it's about 9 years. And one of the differences, they have to, but they usually have trust issues, and men just feel like I'm missing sex and I need to have a partner. It's just like, one of the interesting things about why, first of all, in the lower part of the brain back here, there's two big differences between men and women. One is that the sex center is much bigger in men, kind of obvious. And then the other is the food, the place of emotional fulfillment is much bigger in women. And often women go to food for emotional fulfillment. And those are the two biggest drives that we have, is sex and food. And so if ever you're dating a woman, remember food's really important. Feed her. If she says to you, this is one of the jokes I do for couples. I said, you're on a trip with your wife, and she says, let's look for a restaurant. The man's thinking, okay, when we get to our goal, we'll look for a restaurant. And you got to do it right now. It's a code blue alert, because as soon as a woman is hungry, what happens is her blood sugar, unlike a man, her blood sugar will immediately drop, which means no fuel for the brain to think positive. And so all of her stress responses will go up when the blood sugar drops. For men, we do have low blood sugar, but we're not designed to suddenly have a drop, because we process sugar differently in our liver so that we can go on long hunts, so to speak. So this is some of the biological. We'll just start with that. We really are biologically different. And I know a big part of what you're doing is wanting to give men confidence in dealing with women. And we'll talk all about that, because part of having confidence is knowing what you're dealing with. All right. So for me, I have such confidence as a marriage counselor, as a therapist, because I've done this so much. I know exactly what their resistance is going to be, what they need to do, what the outcome's going to be. Because when you have practice at something over and over and over, you gain confidence. And that's why, as a man with women, we don't have any confidence in how to deal with women. So having someone guide you, which you're doing and other speakers are doing, of different approaches. But what I see is one of the key to having confidence with women is practice. You really just you don't want to go after the perfect girl or anything. You need to practice with the one that you don't care that much about. Okay. Just start practicing. And, I remember when I was young, the girl that I wanted, I couldn't approach her. I was too afraid of rejection. It's like, wait, whoa. So you have to practice with ones that you're not afraid of. So you become comfortable, and you realize that women are standing there waiting for somebody to show interest in them, to notice them. And ironically, some of the most sort of, if we were to grade women, which men tend to do, if she's a 10, a lot of the 10s, we'll call them biological celebrities. That means just by their biology, they're like going to be in front of a magazine. So they're rated as a 10. The 10s are usually the loneliest women, because men are intimidated to go up, because they go, oh, she's so amazing. Why would she want to be with me? But, then you'll see some of these 10s, and you'll see occasionally it's some rich guy with a 10, but a lot of times it's a guy that's not that handsome at all. He doesn't have it all together, and you kind of go, why is she with him? Why is she with him? It's a dynamic, just in my life, because I've been so successful and whatever in my work. You could say in my field, I'm a 10. I'm a #1 international best-selling author in the world. So when my wife died, clearly there was this influx of women who were waiting to approach me. But I approached the woman I was attracted to and eventually married her. So that's my wife I'm married to now. My previous wife, Bonnie, we were married 32 years. She passed on with cancer, and that was a very sad thing for me. It took me a couple of years to heal my heart again and get myself going again. And then, heartbreak is hard for men just as it is for women. I mean, I wanted to kill myself. When you attach to somebody, it's painful. But anyway, so I got through that period, and my heart was open again. And it was so easy for me to now have the woman I wanted, I pursued. It was so easy to win her over. And she didn't even know, well, she did know who I was and all that. But also, she'll put me on a pedestal primarily. She'll say, not because of all that you do, it's how you treat me. See, the key thing is, how do you treat a woman so that she feels safe, so that she feels the center of the world is focused on, she's the center of the world. Ironically, that women are all going around saying men are narcissists, but the way people define narcissism, and it's not the actual psychological narcissism, but the way people define it is somebody who's selfish, selfish. And women say, oh, these men, they're all selfish. They're absorbed in themselves. But here I'm a therapist. When women come in, when they're unhappy in their marriages, they've got 15 complaints all about him. I don't get this. I don't get this. I don't get this. I don't get there. If you define selfishness by narcissism, they're the most narcissistic. And men are kind of like, they have one complaint, hey, no matter what I do, she's never happy, or she's not interested in sex enough. Simple, basic stuff for us. But there's an illusion of selfishness because we don't know what women need. See, you have no clue. And unless somebody explains to us how women are different. So that's what we'll do today as you ask me questions.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. I think that's really interesting. Firstly, about the blood sugar, I noticed that with my sister and with the women that I've been in relationships with. But it's interesting to hear an actual scientific reason why women get unnaturally grumpy when they're hungry. So a quick one on that. What do you recommend packing in the bag to make sure that if we're far from a restaurant, we've always got sugar supply?
That's something, the bumper sugar, be a candy bar.
A banana.
Could be a banana, could be an apple, could be a packaged thing if she eats packaged things, but yeah, an apple will be best, a banana will be best if they're into that. You want to find something that they like that, I think for us, it was always a kind of an oatmeal bar. It was one of these things you buy. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, as I said, for me,
but the other thing, let me just say, besides balancing her blood sugar, there's a message you give to a woman anytime she has a need and you quickly react to it. Okay. Not that you have to always do that, but they take notice of that. So in my relationship, for example, I have to keep the passion there. That's why I teach people how you can keep it for a lifetime. I mean, and of course it gets better as you get older because I'm not raising young kids. My kids are all grown up. Pretty much my career is done. Some people would think I'm retired, but I get to work all the time, a job I love, and I have plenty of free time. So if you manage your relationship right in your free time, you have more sex. Okay. I mean, this is like the best sex life you ever have is after your kids leave home, if you've got the attraction still. So how to maintain that attraction, and for single men, just to know what makes you attractive to a woman. And yeah, I was about to say, and so that you're attracted to the right women. And basically, I think that the age we're dealing with here in this group that you have, they're all attracted to women. See, women lose attraction to men. That's a big deal. I don't really hear a lot of men saying, gee, I'm not attracted to many women. It's women will say, I'm just not attracted to the men I meet. They don't spark it for me. They don't spark it for me. The reason it
Great.
doesn't spark is biologically for a woman to feel a romantic tingle in her body, to be turned on, okay, to feel that, ooh, I want to be with him, and physical feeling of that. Her estrogen levels need to double in your presence. And as women get older, their estrogen levels are dropping. So it's harder and harder for older women and you know, in the 40s, for example, and then the 50s and then the 60s to be turned on to a man, you know, and they keep looking for a man who's going to make them feel like a guy can make her feel when she was in her 20s or early 30s. That's when her hormones are going to be naturally the highest. So what you want to be able to do is know at any age, you basically can win a woman over by doing the things that will raise her estrogen levels. Now,
okay, what are those things?
okay, well, we're going to talk about it. So I'm going to go to a movie when I first saw this. Now, this I haven't had this conversation in a long time, so I'm going to, but it's fun to think of the movie with. Do you remember the movie The Shining? Do you know that movie?
I know of it. I must admit I haven't watched it all the way through.
It's a horror movie. Okay, it's not the movie I
Yeah.
want, but I know he's the actor that's in that movie. He's a famous Academy Award actor. Anyway, so he was in a movie, and let's see, I can't remember even the name of the movie, but I'm going to make the point of it. It was the Three Witches of something, the Three Witches of Eastwick. Maybe that was it, Witches of Eastwick. And here he is, this man in the movie, and he's going to seduce these three women. And he does it in three different ways because there's three different types of women. And they never explain that, but I understand that. He seduces all three women and he does it in a certain way. Now, one of the ways he seduces the woman is he has a house, a big palace, kind of a house, and a beautiful white tablecloth, and having dinner served to her. Okay, just taking a woman to dinner in some nicer than normal place is going to cause her to feel, I don't have to do anything. So people are doing things for me. Okay, so now that's already going to raise estrogen. Whenever you're doing something for a woman, it raises her estrogen. But this particular challenge he had was the woman really was a tough feminist type woman. And she was resistant to his doing things for her. But she was still curious because here was this guy, he had money, or he had at least the restaurant taking her somewhere. So there was a curiosity she had about him. He said, would you like to see my house? And she said, well, sure, you know, but she's really standoffish. He takes her straight to the bedroom. And the bedroom is this red bedroom with this gigantic red king size bed. He said, and this is the bedroom. And she says, how disgusting you are that you think you're going to have sex with me? You think you can pay for dinner for me and woo me into bed by just having all of this? And he says, yes. And she goes, this is horrible. You're a terrible man. You're everything I hate about men. And he says, but I think I can take you places where you've never been before. And she said, well, you're not taking me. I'm leaving. I'm out of here. You make me sick. And he doesn't get upset. Then he says, and what are you going to do? You're going to go home and you're going to be alone when you can be with me tonight and have a nice time. Lie down on my bed. We'll be together. And she goes, you just make me sick. I can't stand you. And he walks up to her and takes her hand and brings her back into the bedroom, and you fade to black. Okay, so it's dramatization, but there's a point in that, which is he seduced her by persisting in being authentic, you know, and I'm not saying you want to be him, but he was himself without getting upset with her. Okay, he wasn't getting mad at her. Most men would be provoked by that and argue back, get angry back or whatever. But she had never experienced her dumping on him. And she'd been doing it all the way through the dinner. You know, you're patriarchy, you're this, you're that. And he's now inviting her into the house. He's bringing her to the bedroom. So she's experiencing a level of safety that she's never experienced, which is she's been able to be what people might call a bitch and resisting and rejecting, and he's gently persisting, and she opens her heart to him basically, and then she falls in love with him later as a result of that. So that's one approach, which was not having a negative reaction to a woman's rejection. Okay, so that's you're standing up and you're not losing your erection, so to speak, the fact that she's not interested in you. And that's the courage it takes for a guy to come up to a woman and talk to her. Okay, just the fact that you have the courage to go talk to her, you're facing rejection. You are the man in the armor going out into the world to protect her, that you can face rejection. Because it's not like women don't have fear of rejection. They're the ones who are standing around waiting to reject you. they're over there picky, and and why can't you approach me? Men go, why don't you approach me? Well, if you're waiting for her to approach you, you're on your girl self, and women don't want a girl self. They want a man who's willing to take the risk to walk up to them. And the higher they are on that scale where they put themselves, usually the more isolated they are, because no men they're intimidated to walk up to her. Whereas just to come to, and go by your own feelings of attraction. I'm not just take the prettiest girl and walk up to her, but just feel what you're feeling connected to. And the courage that you have to just walk into her space and introduce yourself. And I'm from so-and-so. It's a simple thing. For me, it's not fancy talk. It's always just simply, hi, I'm John Gray. What's your name? And they kind of be like, well, who are you to approach me? And you go, you just don't react to that. You just stand there and you don't have to talk. Now, I know a man, and I'm not saying he's the greatest marriage partner, but he's seduced 1,000 women. Okay. He's one of my friends. He says he just can't keep them, but he's now married now. He finally learned how to keep one, but he can seduce them. And the way he does it, I watch it. He said he learned it all from me, but he also has his own thing, which is he's a big guy, and that's already help because he's big force. And so he'll just, hey, smiling, he'll even be very direct as, you're very beautiful and I wanted to talk to you. That's what he'll do. Now, you don't have to be that forward. You can also just simply say, I noticed that outfit you're wearing, or usually women will have some sunglasses or a chain or something they're wearing. So you can walk up to them and go, oh, I really like that. Where'd you get that? Or, is there a story behind that? Your whole thing is to get her talking. Now that's the next version of the seduction in the movie, is where he gets the woman to talk. Okay. And just, she keeps talking. He shows interest in her. He takes on like a therapist hat, asks questions about her childhood, gets her talking about this. And, have you been married before? Are you single? What was your experience with men? He asks questions. Now, this is the key one, which is the more a woman feels safe to talk, the more estrogen she'll produce. The more you can get her to produce more estrogen without over talking her, but by asking questions and showing interest, she becomes more interested in you. But they fight that because they're going to try to get you to talk more. So what you'll notice is you're on a date with a girl, or you're meeting a girl and you're talking, she'll feel very uncomfortable sharing because, again, she's uncomfortable going after you because she doesn't want to face rejection. So you're willing to face rejection to meet her. Already a part of her feels grateful that somebody has come to my side, and just standing near her. And I watch how my friend will do it. One time I was at a restaurant with my friend in New York City, and there was a really hot woman off at some table. He was saying, I could get any woman in here to come be with you. And I said, okay, there's that one over there, which was a 10 for me. Okay. And a 10 for me has to be shorter than me. So all the tall girls, they got to be a head shorter than me. And that's also always gets you an advantage. Find a woman who's a head shorter than you. Also find a woman who's younger than you. See, when you have more life experience, they have something to look up to. You know more than them. There's already that sense of you have to know more than them. You'll have to be taller than them. These are just general things. Not that you ultimately have to. Okay, but these are dynamics. There's an old Italian saying that the ideal partner, and this isn't always the case, but the ideal partner is half your age plus 7. So if you're 32, half your age is, let's say, what is that? 15, 16 plus 7 is around 23 years old. So there needs to be women mature more when it comes to relationship than men. Men mature more sexually, and that we can be into sex a lot. whereas they take a while to really mature into it, even though they might be pretending to be into it. Their biology isn't there yet. So you want to have something over them, so to speak, some wisdom, something. So my friend had size. There's no question about it. But he also asked questions. He says, well, where are you from? And he's also like the character at the table, which is, she can say, well, I'm busy with my friend right now. And so most guys will cower back and say, oh, I can see that. It's just you're irresistible. And what he did is, and my friend has been watching you all night. He so much wants to meet you. Who's your friend? Whatever. Anyway, so he's over there talking with her. She comes over and sits at my table, leaves her friend behind. It was literally just taking time to get her to first resist and have you not resist back, resist and not have you, put your tail between your leg and walk away, but to just stay present and not be unmoved by it. And just simply say, it's always some kind of comeback question, which is, I get that. I can see that. Or, well, that's true. But where are you from? I mean, you're amazing. And I was just drawn to talk to you. Just say, I'm drawn to talk to you. It says, and really you're drawn to have sex with her. Just don't say that. Okay. Now I want to tell you a story of a man who gets laid all the time. Not that our objective is to get laid, but part of it is at the right time in the right place. You want to meet a girl that at least there's some sexual attraction with, right? You don't want to just meet some girl with no sexual attraction towards her. So I was teaching a class, and I was teaching about male-female polarity and how the man has to be the pursuing energy, and that allows a woman to go into her receptive energy. I didn't understand hormones then, but when a man is pursuing, just to overcome your fear of approaching a woman, your testosterone goes up. And it's testosterone going up that raises estrogen in women. So already you're putting out a pheromone, a smell that will activate her estrogen more, but it doesn't happen like that. It takes a little time. So I was explaining this phenomena of polarity, and that's what allows women to have orgasms. And then this woman goes, oh my God, you just explained why I had my only orgasm. Everybody went, oh, the women go, what's that? Because, half the women in America have never had an orgasm. 25% have only had a climax, which is with the clitoris. Well, orgasm, I mean vaginal orgasm. Then there's clitoris, which is a climax. And 50% have never had an orgasm. 25, the other 50%, half of them, so 25, can have a clitoris stimulation with their vibrator or alone, but not with a man. And only 20%, 25% can have either a clitoris or a vaginal orgasm with a man. So women need more estrogen to have these orgasms, and men have to have more testosterone or courage to help raise that estrogen. So you're doing a favor just walking up and talking to her. But what I said before, well, here's this woman who said, I had this orgasm. So we're all listening. And she says, well, I was at this bar and this guy came up to me and he was not my type at all. And he was a bit rude and a bit disgusting, to be quite honest. This is what she's saying. And he says, I just can't keep my eyes off of you. And she says, well, good. I'm not interested in you at all. Go somewhere else. And he says, I know I'm not that appealing. I know I'm not the greatest guy in the world. But now I'm not recommending men to do this. I just want you to see what happened. He says, I'm just so attracted to you. I know that I can take you places you've never been before. And she goes, that's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard. He just says, I get it. I'm not so handsome. I'm not sexy and rich and everything, but I know what I can do, and I can take you places you've never been before. And she said he repeated this 5 times as she kept trying to reject him. And he just stayed there, didn't get upset, heard her, and kind of like, I get it. You're not attracted to me at all, and that's okay. But the reality is, I know what I can do, and I can take you places you've never been before. Now, that's pure confidence. See, and of course, what he's thinking inside of himself is that he can last long in sex, is what he's thinking. Because if you can have a big erection and last long in sex, you can take women places they've never been before. Because, most men, your average is 5 good strokes and he's done. And so she can't go places she'd never been before. So that was like and if you can't do that, you can't say that. But the point is, he said, I could take you places And she was really sort of angry at him, kind of like the feminist woman in the other movie. But he just persisted and he didn't give up. And she thought, well, let's just see what he can do. But I'm not going to give him anything. Okay? I'm not going to give him anything. I'm just going to take. And she didn't say that to him. He wouldn't have had a problem with it. But so they went to a hotel room and he made love to her. And she said, he took me places I'd never been before. And now I realize why. Because in my mind, I wasn't going to give to him. I was just going to take. Because this woman was like so many women today, which is they're codependent. They want to give you to get. And every woman who comes in an unhappy relationship, what they say to me is, I give and I give and I give and I don't get back. Okay. And then they list all the things that they've given and all that they didn't get back. So the dynamic there is that women, in order to really go to high levels of fulfillment, they need to have their estrogen go up. And estrogen does not go up when you're giving. Estrogen goes up when you're taking, when you're receiving. So if you're, going on a date with a woman and you say, no, let's spend some time together. Where would you like to go? And she says, well, where would you like to go? Then you say, well, I like this, but actually I prefer to provide something for you. What would you like to do? And what else would you like to do? And what else would you like to do? 3 times. What would you like to do? What else do you enjoy doing? What else do you enjoy doing? Okay, well, I'll call you tomorrow. I'll pick one of those things. Let's do it. Or you could say, all right, well, let's do that. That would be fun. You pick. You see, if a woman just says, oh, I want to do this, and you say, okay, let's do that. You're just passive. You're just going with the flow. They don't want to feel that they're controlling you. They want to feel that there's a sense of you're leading them, but you're leading them where they want to go. It's a subtlety. These are all subtle things. Leader, I'm going to sweep you off your feet. I mean, there is something too, if you're an Italian restaurant and your boyfriend knows the names of the Italian food, we're going to, order this and this for her. And she'll like this and this and this. That's very sweeping off her feet because you know something she doesn't know. So but these are like, if you have that expertise where you're really good at restaurants or you speak another language and you can speak that other language, anytime you show a skill or a competence that a woman doesn't have or doesn't have as much, it's a turn on to her. It's power. It's a man's power. But power, you don't have to be this big rich guy and have all this success and everything. You have to have confidence. Like that man, I can take you places you've never been before. He just had the confidence. And it's not necessarily those words. And it was the same thing with the guy with the big house and taking the woman straight to the bedroom, which was offensive to her. She could berate him, but he didn't get upset about it. And then she was turned on. That's one thing. So you're having a conversation with a woman. And, I remember having a conversation with a woman. I travel around the world and I was in Saudi Arabia. And I was surprised in Saudi Arabia that we're at a party with a woman. I'm already married, but here I'm having a conversation with a woman. I wasn't trying to seduce her, but it would have seduced her. And that is I was talking about in Saudi Arabia. I went to a restaurant at 11 o'clock at night in the desert, and there were 1,000 people out there in the desert because at nighttime it was cooler, and nobody was on their cell phone. And I thought that was really quite amazing. The social connection there was very real. I don't see that in America. Now, I know it's not a perfect country, but there's some good qualities there. And she was just pissed off. I mean, she was so pissed off about me trying to convince me to change my point of view, or you should see this and you should see this, that I wouldn't want to have sex with her anyway if I was single. But she was too fixed in that. But the point of view is, had she said those things and I was wanting to get to know her, I would have said, well, you're right about that. Well, that makes sense. Well, I hear you there. But it is still true that was one good thing. And she would have to say, yeah, that was one good thing. But I also see your point of view as well. When a woman can have a reaction that I'm different from you and you don't make her wrong for that once again, that's a turn on to her because it's another place where she gets the message where she's safe to express herself. The other form of this guy who seduced the witches of Eastwick was, I think this is what I'm remembering, is he was more conversationalist type, therapist type guy for her. And the third guy was the ultimate romantic guy. That's another way you woo a woman is, you bring her flowers, you dress up, you put on a nice little thing in your pocket here. You see some of these guys, they look really sharp. And so you dress up for her and you have it together. A man in a uniform, where you're dressed up is such a turn on. Like a man in a tuxedo always is a turn on to a woman. Or for her to hear a story about what you did at work, something that she can't do or doesn't know how to do, and she sees your competence. But when you're having conversations with her, you talk about yourself too, about what you're good at, what you accomplished, a challenge that you had and how you overcame it. You never, ever whine or complain. Never, ever whine or complain. And if you start to get quiet and she's, what are you feeling? Don't tell her. Don't ever share your feelings with a woman unless she's already shared a lot of her feelings and you're having positive feelings for her, or positive feelings in your life. You want to be the ultimate optimist. But what you want to practice is the basic Mars-Venus skill, which you can be reminded of it in all these books that I have. This being Beyond Mars and Venus is the one you're going to need the most, because women today are way on their male side. And that's what those three guys did, how to bring a woman to her female side. Basically, how to produce estrogen in her body. Do romantic things, flowers, plan a date, be on time, wear an outfit, open the door for her, pay for the bill. All those things is be a super gentleman. The other one is be somewhat of an asshole. Let her react to you, but don't get upset with her. That's letting her have her own resistance to you and not reacting back, either by running away, but by just hanging in there. And what my friend did, what he'll do is he'll just, particularly he's taller. Okay. So you kind of hover over, get a little closer. You say, well, you're asking some question about her. Well, where are you from? And what do you do? It's always an easy one. What do you do? And simple cliche things. It's like, you then comment on what she does and you ask her a question. Well, how does that look like? What does your day look like when you do that? And then she kind of gives you a little bit and then just don't say anything. Now, see, this is an awkward moment where you're not going to say something. You're just going to sit there and just look at her. You don't realize how powerful that is. In sales, that's called the pregnant pause. Now, anybody who's good at sales has been taught this in sales trainings, where you have a conversation at a certain point about what you're selling, and then you get a lot of agreement going. An agreement would be yes, yes, yes. That's called a yes set. So we see you need this, correct? And yes, and you need this, yes, you need this, yes. And then so would this be a good time? Should I come by on Thursday and we can begin this project? Or would you like to purchase it with a credit card or check? So you make your close. And as soon as you do that, you don't speak, because nobody wants to say yes. It's uncomfortable. So there's going to be this uncomfortable moment where you made your close. And so the close might be like if a woman is, so would you like to spend more time together? We can go on a date next week, or we can have lunch together next week. That's your close. And then there's going to be this quiet pause. Most cases, she's thinking about it. And then you might say, oh, you can call me. No, so let that silence be there. And don't try to close her right away, but just have conversation, more conversation. Get her to talk about herself. Where'd you grow up? Yeah, that could be one. Where are you from? Why'd you move here? Another one, what do you do? Why did you pick that job? Have you been doing that job for long? Continue asking questions. And one of the easy ways to have more questions to ask is the 3 basic questions. Help me understand that better. Okay, so where did you get those dark glasses? Or those are cool glasses. Where'd you get them? Simple as that. Oh, that's a beautiful pen. Is there a story behind that? You look amazing. I've never seen a dress like this. I mean, where do you find something like that? She says, oh, da-da-da-da. It will help me understand that better. That's one. Tell me more. Another one is, well, what else? And you just stand there after she's talked. You ask her a question, she answers, and then you're like enthusiastic and you just simply say, well, what else? That's it. And she's like, oh, I'm supposed to talk more. In a sense, you intimidate her into talking more. Now, that's the nice intimidation thing. Now, I know that the dating books will often say, well, why would you have that dress on? You kind of you build her up a little bit
Yeah.
and you put her down. I'm not into putting women down at all. And nor am I into trying to get her to have sex on the first date. What I'm into is trying to form a relationship without pushing. Because a lot of men are at 40 years old and they're not married. And they're kind of like, why have I never not, you know, um, gotten married? You know, why is it taking me so long? And now I'm not that interested in women. It's hard for me to make a commitment. First of all, it's easier to make a commitment with a younger woman. The reason for that is she has more estrogen, and her estrogen will raise your testosterone. So, the mating season is 25 to 35. This is important. You make a commitment during that time. It's going to be harder for you to even feel I want to make a commitment if you don't do it within that range. You can still do it within that range. Okay. I mean, outside that range. I'm just giving you optimal things, but you have to wonder, why didn't I wanting to marry a woman? It was, often the issues, why didn't you get married? Well, it wasn't the right timing. It wasn't the right this, circumstances for that. I was dating, it didn't work out. Well, find out why it didn't. There's reasons that you can self-correct, but you want to catch them at this time if you can. I'm now older, so I have an older woman and I caught her, but there's something about when you fall in love with your wife, like I fell in love with my wife at 32. So throughout my whole life, I can always be connected to her. My 32-year-old is still alive the whole time. Now, fortunately, I keep my 32-year-old alive now in my new marriage. So, I'm just like a 32-year-old. I'm plenty of sex and so forth. I have all that together because I stayed the 32-year-old with my wife. I stayed young in that place of sexuality and so forth, because we had the skills of enlightened sexuality. It's a whole another thing I teach. But the bottom line of it is it's polarity. And so here you are, a guy, you want to make sure that a woman's attracted to you, wants to spend time with you, and also that you want to spend time with her. What the dynamic here is, these guys who can't seem to make a commitment or stay in a relationship. I want to outline that for you, because we're talking about meeting a woman. Once you meet them and then you don't call them back, you don't get involved again, what's happening? Some men just can't stay turned on to the same woman. Well, here's what's going on in our biology, is that as a man, we have estrogen, we have testosterone. Now, when we connect with a woman, what are we doing? We're going inside of her. So let's do the more extreme version, is that we're having sex with her. So when you have sex with a woman, you've got a hard penis, which is testosterone, but you're going into a wet vagina, okay, which is estrogen. So you're connecting with her, your estrogen levels are going higher. Your testosterone levels are going higher if she's having a good time. As that goes up, you have a threshold of only how much sexual potency you have. And what's going to happen, that means how much testosterone you have. And just to know, your average male at 20 years old has 20% less testosterone than the average male 20 years ago. So you already got biology against you, man.
Why is that, John?
Well, there's several reasons. When you have it, one is that we've been drinking from plastic bottles and cans are plastic bottles. Cans have plastic lining in them, and plastic bottles they're called hormone disruptors. They make women more masculine, they make men more feminine, and that's been proven. These are hormone disruptors. It's like, right now they want to give, if you want to make somebody trans, you give them a hormone disruptor. You give them an injection. A male at puberty, right before puberty, you give him an injection of estrogen, it will suppress his testosterone. At puberty, in a healthy situation, if you're not ingesting hormone disruptors, your average male will increase his testosterone 10 times. Okay, so you go from being like a little boy girl. We have almost the same testosterone levels of a girl when we're up to about puberty. In the first 2 years of our life, we have testosterone of a grown man, which helps form our male brain. So you actually feel like I'm masculine. Not that you're a man, because your testosterone will go back down to like a little girl, but you'll want to play with boys and you'll play with trucks, and you want to shoot things. This is just all real natural stuff. But if you didn't develop your male brain, then in the womb or in those first 2 years, because of these endocrine disruptors, you're confused about your body. And today they keep thinking, well, if you're confused about your body, let's just give you some estrogen if you're a boy, rather than give you testosterone. That's what they do in China. If you don't drop both testicles, which is very common these days, is boys to come in, only get one testicle, the other one stays up. They just give them a shot of testosterone and then they come back to their male side. I'm not a big fan of taking testosterone because my whole thing is make it. But if you didn't ever make it in the first place, then give them the experience of making your brain more masculine, which you're designed to be. At puberty. Don't block the testosterone, which would naturally come up.
For sure.
A lot of little boys, if your father's absent as well, if you don't have male energy around you when you're growing up, then your masculinity gets stunted to a great extent. And
rough and tumble play, isn't it? The father playing physically with the son is a huge indicator of future mental health as well as testosterone levels, even in children as young as 3.
Absolutely. And mothers are going, oh, don't do that. Don't do that. They don't understand masculinity. Also, competition is a very big thing, which is to have competitions. And it could be as simple as, all right, I want you to run to the end of that area and come back and I'm going to time it. And now do it again, do it faster and do it again, do it faster, and you get that sense of achievement that I'm accomplishing and achieving and so forth. There's just things that are always going to be missing for a boy if you don't have the masculine energy around you. So rough and tumble play has been proven. Another one is the way a man manages his emotions if he has balanced masculinity. The masculine side of us says, no big deal. It's not such a problem. We'll solve it. It's like, if there's an upset, no need to get upset about it. Let's just fix it. Let's solve it. One of my examples, and what you're describing is some of the research that I have in a book called The Boy Crisis, which is all this research showing of what boys are missing today, where rough and tumble play is in there, a big key factor in there. But also just spending time with your father without your mother around is very important. There just needs to be time where mom's not there protecting you all the time, but your father's protecting you. Because the fathers have less of a sense. We naturally, if we're on our male side, are risk takers. Okay, so we don't live in a world as much of protect ourselves from what could happen, is that when things happen, we fix it, we solve it. And that's our thing, is solve the problem. And I have a fun story about that, because when I married Bonnie, she already had 2 little children. We eventually had a child together. But, and I saw she was overwhelmed and stressed. I said, honey, take a day off. I'll take all the kids one day and you go off, I'll take care of them. You don't need to be here. And she says, great, she's going to take her day off. But before she left, she says, so what are you going to do with the kids? And we'd already been married a year. We already had a child, a baby, whatever. What are you going to do with the kids? Maybe it was the second year or something when I figured this out. And she said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'll keep it my secret and I'll just take care of them. She said, no, I have to know. I have to know. And I was like, well, you don't trust me to take care of the kids for the day? She says, it's not that I don't trust you. It's just I could probably offer a better suggestion, or I could, maybe you've forgotten something. I know you'll do a good job. So she was kind about it. But I said, I'll do a good job. But no, what are you going to do? So then I played with it a bit. And then I said, okay. And I was being playful too. And I said, I'm going to take them to Stinson Beach. It's about a 35-minute drive from our house. It's a beach. And she said, oh, what a good idea. And then she says, now, did you remember to pack their jackets in case it's cold? I said, no. And she said, that's why you need my advice. That's why you need to discuss everything with me. I said, no, that's not, because I would have taken them to Stinson Beach. And if it was too cold, I would have solved the problem. She goes, yes, you'll just go buy them jackets. I go, yes, I'd go buy them jackets, or we go do something else. But I would solve the problem and I wouldn't be upset about it.
Yeah.
Children need to see dad handle stuff. He doesn't get overwhelmed by stuff. If you're a single mother, you are overwhelmed so much of the time. So children are like, okay, don't overwhelm mom. So they have to live in a fear state themselves all the time of asking for too much or demanding too much or making a mistake or being a burden or whatever. Whereas dads can be more cool, calm, and collected if they have testosterone. The symptom of high testosterone is not emotion. It's detachment. It's cool, calm, and collective. But detachment doesn't mean indifferent, because we also have estrogen, and I can be detached from the point of view of something not bothering me, but I can still be completely emotionally connected to my kids and my wife and so forth, but not negatively expressive.
Yeah.
So here's the thing: you go on a date with a girl, and she says, "Well, what do you do?" And then you start talking. And what men will tend to do is keep talking, because she'll keep asking questions. In her mind, she's thinking you're a girl. She didn't know the difference between guys and girls. They think we're all the same. So what girls do is they ask questions. One asks questions, and then the other one, it's their turn to ask questions back. So they do, and they keep track of who gets to speak how many words. Nobody can talk more than the other. So this is the commodity of getting to talk. So a woman is like asking you questions, and on some subconscious level, she's waiting for you, or even conscious sometimes, to ask you questions back. But that's not our nature to ask questions back. If somebody's asking us questions, well, we're going to answer them. We're the answer people, right? We're fixing it, solving it, because fixing and solving things produces testosterone. Now, you asked the question, I was getting into the weeds there, which is my books go into all that. But you asked a good question, which is why testosterone levels are so low in guys. Well, one of them is the biology of the pregnant mother who's been drinking from plastic bottles, or she's been eating non-organic food. Non-organic food, GMOs, genetically modified organisms, these are plants that are GMO, they're able to put Roundup on it, or atrazine. These are shown to make, for example, dramatically, it's shown to make male frogs grow vaginas. They make male frogs gay. They lower testosterone in the male frogs, just the pesticides. So we're eating pesticides all the time. And we also see that food that's been grown with pesticides. And we're also seeing this drop in male hormones. So we're putting a link together. Nobody wants to ever say cause, because there's so many factors that go along with it, because there are other factors. And these are the factors I see, although that's very real. Soy does it as well. Soy makes estrogen. If you were to get McDonald's hamburgers, you're really not eating meat at all. There's not enough cows in the world to make as many hamburgers from McDonald's. It's mainly soy, and soy just causes estrogen in males. And every package you buy, any packaged food's got soy in it.
Right.
It's just a staple. We have sugar in soy, but the soy is very feminizing. So not that soy is a bad thing, but historically, it's like a garnish in Asia where they use soy a lot, and it was also stinky soy. It was fermented soy. What we have is tofu that's nice and clean, tastes like chicken. That's all estrogen producing. Good for women, not good for men. So there's that aspect of it. But the bigger aspect is here. A woman on her male side sucks energy out of men. Okay. If you're in a relationship with a woman and she's on her male side, after a while, you'll just be tired all the time. And you lose your motivation. You lose your libido. So many married couples are not having sex. It's literally, she's not doing it consciously. But if you're a man and you're more men today when their testosterone are lower, but their estrogen is higher. Okay. We're more loving. We're more caring about the environment. We're caring about being sensitive. We will be more respectful. This is all our female side. That's good, except that it doesn't support high testosterone unless somebody is like, saying, oh, you're doing such a great job and you're amazing and we really need the help. And so that will give you a nice boost of your testosterone. So historically, men had this huge testosterone levels. If you see pictures of men working on the railroad, I mean, these are big guys, and they're doing tough stuff and they're not whining. They don't complain. They don't feel. Feelings is your estrogen side. When you feel, or if you're feeling emotional, it's very estrogen stimulating. And we're all over there, and too much. Okay. The key is to have our balance of being our detached self and our feeling self. But we lose the attachment. So that's where men get triggered. They get afraid. They don't act. They procrastinate. We have a generation of procrastinators, insecure. They've got goals, but then they don't take action. That's all low testosterone, high estrogen.
Yeah.
Or anger. If you find you're getting in relationships, you get your feelings hurt easily. That's too much estrogen. That's not enough testosterone. But But where I'm wandering around here to get to the big story. When I was a little boy growing up, what I knew, this is in the 50s, is that you don't get a wife unless you have a job. And you have to make enough money to support your wife and have children. And that's my role. I'm going to have to go out there in this world and make enough money, have a job, and be able to support myself and a woman. And if I don't do that, then I'm in danger. Now, for me, I felt those fears, and then I had role models who helped me see I could do it. If you don't have a father who can show you how to do it, that you can do it, this is how you do it. And it's not like one lesson you get. It's a daily experience of being resonating with a father who's confident in what he can do. And he does things and teaches you things like throw the ball here and put this here. And how do you do this? And how your checking account, he's going to be with you at every step of the way, where you get the feeling his help is always there to learn how to be a provider. Now, if that's the provider thing. So men used to be providers, and women needed a provider. See, women today don't need a provider. That's a big thing. See, it's like it motivates, if there's a fire, then you get motivated to put out the fire. But you grew up in an environment where women don't need men. So what's the motivation to be a man?
So what is the motivation? That is the big question, especially for the generation below mine. I mean, I'm 30 years old, but I'm thinking about the kids who are 18, 19 years old, and they're entering the adult world. Yeah. But they, as you said, they've been drinking plastics. They've been brought up by a feminized household that maybe doesn't have a strong masculine role model. And on top of that, they're told by all corners of the media sphere that it is not only risky to talk to women, but it's actually inappropriate for them to go outside, see a beautiful woman, and take a chance. So what hope in hell do young men have of finding their testosterone in the midst of a lake full of estrogen that they're growing into?
Yeah, well, it is inappropriate to go whistle at a woman these days. Hey, how are you? Oh, you look gorgeous. Hey, girl, come on my way. Let's do this. That's a bit inappropriate today. But long before that, and so you're pointing it out. So what you're doing is helping men understand, and what I'm doing is helping men understand that women are secretly calling out for you to approach them, and that all that media stuff is a bunch of baloney. Okay, they're secretly needing you more than my mother needed my father, but they're needing in a different way. So it used to be that women depended on men. So men had a job to do. And so your father was very masculine because your mother depended on him, which made him like hero status to a great extent. We want to find the power inside of us as men. Well, if you watch your father is needed by your mother. When you're hungry and you need something and someone gives it to you, you feel a lot of love. Okay. I personally was homeless at a time in my life, and a friend gave me $500. He's eternally my friend. I mean, when you're hungry and somebody gives you $500 to get back on your feet, kabang, changed my life. Later on, I've given hundreds of thousands of dollars when he needed it, because that's how important that was. That was a bonding moment, because I really needed help and wasn't able to ask for it. I was too embarrassed to ask for it. And he just saw it and did it. Well, women really need help now, but what kind of help do they need? It was known in the past, every woman needed a man who could have a job and provide for her. But when women can do it for themselves, why are men needed? What's our role? It's like we're firemen, but there's no fires. You're policemen, there's no danger. Where's our job for our masculine to rise to? Actually, the penis rises up when you feel needed. Well, what I've done in this book, Beyond Mars and Venus, it's an analysis of if women can provide for themselves security and having someone provide finances, now she can do it for herself. She also has a police department that can provide for her. What does she really need a man for? What she needs a man for is a higher need comes into place, and that's the need for emotional security. Not physical security, although physical security is still there. It's just not as important. Money is still there. It's just not as important. Generally speaking, you have to make at least enough money to support yourself. If you can't support yourself, no woman will be turned on to you, period. And they shouldn't be. You're not ready to provide for her. But it's not as big a characteristic because she can provide for herself. You can provide for yourself. Now you can have a life together, but there's no polarity. There's not going to be any attraction where she needs more from you and you have it to give. But what the beautiful thing here is that Dr. Maslow said about 100 years ago, he pointed out what's called the hierarchy of needs. This is a very established thing, you know about it, most people do.
Yeah.
And that is your lower needs for survival and security. When they're satisfied, then your emotional needs, different kinds of emotional needs, become just as important as your hunger and your security, just as important or even more important. But women don't know what their emotional needs are. They think they do. They don't. I've been doing this 50 years. I'm teaching them what you need because, you know, they just think I'd like to have a man. It'd be nice to have a man. No, you need a man. You're unhappy because you don't have a man in your life. You don't have a companion who is calm, cool, and collected where you can just sort of vent the frustrations, the emotions, the distress that you're feeling in your life, the insecurities that you have inside. Every woman is insecure. That's what men don't know. They walk around, the more confident they look, the more insecure they are. I remember when I was in LA teaching, when I used to live in LA and I was famous, I would have models coming to me like movie star people, you know, gorgeous women. And they were all so insecure about their body and are they lovable? And why is he doing this? And what about this? And the more physical a woman is, the more insecure she will be. Just to know that, in a sense, the higher she is on the scale of physical appearance, the more insecure she is.
Yeah.
But they're all insecure. And what it means is, do you like me? Do you love me? Do you care about me? Because they are the gatekeepers and they're not going to let you in. Because if you actually got in, you'd find out that this is a woman who's very insecure, needing reassurance that she's loved, that she's special, that she's attended to. That's all of what romance is making her more special than anybody else. Okay, that's what romance is. You are more special. But she's not going to let herself go to receive that. That's called vulnerability. Vulnerability, one way of looking at it, a lot of people define it in different ways. But vulnerability, my way of looking at it in this context, is you're giving when you're vulnerable, you're in a situation where somebody can have a big effect on you. Okay, that's, you know, I take off my clothes, you could judge me. I could tell you my deepest dark secrets, you could put me in jail. You see, you're revealing something that if somebody, you're giving someone the power to make you feel bad or make you feel good. See, that's vulnerability. And so when a woman is naked, she's basically saying, I'm giving you the ability to stimulate me in certain ways that will make me feel really, really good and bond to you. And a lot of women just don't want to have sex because they do not want to bond to a man, because in sex, women bond a lot more than men. Because for women, through being stimulating her from kissing to stimulating her nipples, now oxytocin gets produced, which makes her feel safe. Then stimulating her clitoris, that produces some testosterone, starts to create some desire. Then through vaginal penetration, her estrogen levels can go higher and higher and higher. And as estrogen goes higher and higher and higher, she will bond with you. Some women are so afraid of bonding to a man because they've been hurt that they can't even enjoy vaginal sex. You know, they feel nothing when the penis goes in. And yet this can be the highlight of her life. But to have estrogen go up, you have to feel I can depend on you for something. And based on her childhood, based on her mother, I mean, basically a woman who grows up without a father in the home, how can she ever depend on a man? Her mother never could. So she can absorb all of her mother's insecurities and so forth, that I can't really depend on a man. And then suddenly you're dating her, whatever, you look at another woman, she goes, oh, he doesn't love me, oh, whatever. You know, so you have to be real careful with these women, but to understand they don't know what they need. You don't know what they need. And so all they're going to feel is dissatisfied or rejecting or not being interested. So you have to know what they need when they don't. And what they need, as I'm telling you, is emotion on a biological level. They need you to behave in ways that stimulate estrogen and not testosterone. Primarily, you want to stimulate the estrogen. That's the kiss, first kiss. That's why prostitutes will never kiss you. They do not want that estrogen levels to go up and bond with you. They can have the breast touch, they can have the clitoris touch, whatever, but they're not going to bond with you because they didn't open the real gate, which their heart opens. So you want to get her to open the gates for you. You do things that will stimulate her testosterone. Hey, quiet. That's my dog. Okay.
It's a very well-trained dog.
She's a good dog. So so where I was is you have to open the gates. So you start with a woman, you never get sexual with her right away. You have conversation with her. This is the real thing that turns women on. It's the top, it's not down south, it's their ears and their mouth. Is that when they feel they're being heard, when they express themselves in ways that they wouldn't feel free to express to other people. There's a lot which is going on. And you can have extra skills in this. Extra skills would be listening and occasionally saying something like, that must be so frustrating. Just throw an emotion into it. And then she might say, yes. And then that's a big surge of estrogen right there. Or you might say, that must be so frustrating. And she goes, no, it's not frustrating at all. And, oh, that's good. You never have to be right with her. What you do is you validate the emotion. I can completely agree with a woman's story, just her story. I can't validate her story. Oh, this guy was terrible. He did this and this and this, and you're over there. She took something. She's gonna basically tell a story of, oh, he did this and this and this. And if you have any experience with that, you'd say, well, there's another side to this story. There's your side. Never do that. That would be invalidating her story, disagreeing with her story. You don't ever need to do that. You don't have to agree with her story. You don't have to disagree with her story, but she needs to feel validation. So what you can always validate is, that must be so frustrating. Tell me more. Help me understand that better. What else were you feeling? Just something like that. Or sometimes, what did you want to happen? Okay. You flesh it out. I'm giving you key phrases. Help me understand that better. Tell me more. What else? What were you thinking? What do you think he was thinking? Oh my gosh, that's terrible. Always a response. Whenever a woman speaks, you don't say something in response. What you do is you ask for more, or you make a comment. So frustrating. So, gosh, that must have been hard. No, it was easy for me. Then you'd be fine with that. Or it was hard. They'll say, yes, it was. Whatever their response is, don't be attached to her agreeing with you or disagreeing with her, and just be present. What they call it is hold the space for me. So hold the space basically means create a context where you're not trying to change her in any way. Now that's hard for men, because what raises our testosterone is having an effect on things. If I can change something, I did that. You see, so that's our tendency, is I want to produce a desired result. But what is the desired result with her? What you want is her to be attracted to you. What you want is her to let down her barriers to you. What you want is her to feel safe with you. What you want is her to feel happy in your presence. What you want is for her to feel successful in making this woman happier and also attracted to you. So how do you do that? By not trying to do that, but give her exactly what she needs, which is a non-doing doing. Okay. So you're solving the problem, which is the real problem, which is she's looking for someone who can allow me to be myself without having to change, without being corrected, which is why a lot of women just choose not to be with men. They just want to be with other women, because another woman will go, yes, I feel the same way. Yes, I had the same thing. And if you were to say to her, yes, I have the same thing, you're now a girlfriend, and now you're in the girl zone. So you never want to be in the girl zone with her by completely saying, I feel the same way. No, you say, I can understand that must be frustrating. I understand this is emotional intelligence. Be the girl, respect the girl, understand the girl, because, and you don't have to, if she's frustrated, oh, I have frustration too. No, don't talk about you at all. Talk about her. Now she'll start to feel embarrassed or self-aware that she's talking more than you, because women regulate this with each other. You're not allowed to talk more than the other person. So if she's talking, she's going to jump over to ask you questions. Now, if she says, well, how do you feel? What are you upset about? Or what was frustrating for you? Don't share emotions. Don't share how you're feeling. Once you get to know a girl, she's going, how are you feeling today? What did you do to work today? Oh gosh, it was awful. Boom, you just lost her. Now you're a child in front of her. You'll produce mother feelings. You won't produce lover feelings. It's when you are together and she's not, now you're her hero. If you're not together, she'll go right into hero. She'll go right into mother hero and mother you, feel sorry for you, want to help you, but be turned off to you. Women cannot stay turned on to a man who shares feelings of problems. So one time, what will happen is you need to be, you can share with your guy friends whatever your issues are. Okay. Oh, I'm so frustrated about this, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. You don't go to a woman to do that, particularly when you're winning her over. And then afterwards, it happens all the time. I'll be, sometimes I'm kind of quiet and I'm down, which is a good place to be. Don't talk when you have negativity inside. If you talk when you have negativity inside and you're a man, particularly to a woman, if your partner, if you talk and you have negativity inside, what hormone is going to get produced? Same hormone for women, estrogen. When you talk about your feelings, estrogen goes up. Why are men ever negative? Why do we ever get negative when our estrogen is higher than our testosterone? That's the only reason. If your testosterone is high, you're like a master. You're a karate master. Nothing flusters you. You have complete confidence. Nothing bothers you. But you also want to help everybody. You feel compassion. You feel empathy. You have emotions. But you're not triggered by things. You don't overreact. Anytime as a man, you're angry, irritated, frustrated, anxious, afraid, you're overreacting. Just take it. You're overreacting. Do not overreact with a woman. If you are, just don't speak. Don't speak. Because as soon as you start to speak, you're going to overreact. And you're going to put her into the male side. She can't be attracted to you if your presence puts her into the male side. In the same way, men lose their power. And I said at the very beginning, women on their male side drain men. They don't need you. Imagine going to this job. It's a worthless job. They pay you a bit, but you don't have any effect. It's a worthless job. Doesn't have any benefit to it at all. You just go in, you do something, you're not making a difference at all. You're not empowered by that. You want to feel actually, this is why a lot of guys are really in their masculine, because they build stuff, the construction workers, the builders and whatever. In my case, I write a book, people like it, then I feel better. I can counsel people, they feel better. I solve problems. You have to feel that you make a meaningful difference. And this is the major cause of every man's depression. When men are depressed, it's because they feel I can't make a difference. And biologically, what's happening is when you're not making a difference, you're not making testosterone. So testosterone is produced when you're solving problems that are meaningful. And at a certain point, as a young person, I can prove to myself I can do this. But then as maturity sets in, you have to be of helping others. You have to help others. So I had so much depression when I was younger, because I wasn't helping anybody. So you just have to go find somebody you can help who needs your help. A job usually does that. But if you still have depression, and that's the major cause of depression and the major cause of heart attacks for men, is retirement for men or being out of a job. You've got to work. And if you're out of a job because you're waiting to get a better job, get some job, get the ball rolling, go work at a counter somewhere. You just have to be interacting with people, serving people, then your brain will work better. So according to your age and your competence, you can get a better job. But you need to move up the ladder. Depression, if you just sit there and wait and you're not actually physically using your life force to help somebody in some meaningful way for them, you will be depressed. And then you'll become a philosopher and you'll ask questions like, what's the purpose of life? I know a lot of guys are like, what's the purpose of life? Why am I here? You only have that question when you're not doing your purpose, and your purpose is to help somebody. No. And now when we're talking about the dating, you're helping all these women, by going up to women who are the ones you don't want to be with and have a conversation with them. Go to the ugliest woman in the room and go have a conversation with her. She'll appreciate it so much. It's not all just about going after the one you have physical attraction for. It makes you very shy. It makes you very insecure, because when you have physical attraction, you can only feel physical attraction when your estrogen's going up. And you already have too much estrogen anyway. So if your estrogen is going up, estrogen is your emotions. So when estrogen goes up, you have more insecurity, you have more fear. Your confidence builds when you don't have all that when you don't have a lot of estrogen. So go up to the woman that doesn't turn you on in any way and practice your conversation skills. Just like, well, how did you find this place? Or what's your favorite dance you like? Whatever context you're in, I suggest join groups. Most important thing. I'm not a online dater guy like that. Sometimes people find somebody that's great. I know there's great stories, but so many people, it doesn't work. And
there's
now
no conquest. There's no conquest for a man on a dating app.
that's
He's
right.
missing an integral part, which is him taking the autonomy and the initiative to go out into the world and conquer something he's scared of. It goes back to, conquering the dragon in the cave, right?
Absolutely. There's no question about it. You
Yeah.
said it perfectly. You've got to go out and get it. Otherwise, if you find it online, in most cases, you're not going to bond with her anyway. And let's just throw another thing in there. But what you said is the most profound thing. But this is just a data thing I'm going to say. 90% of the guys online don't get the girl. 90%. Because, women have this category. I want the guy who's got the house, who's got the job, and he's much taller than me. That's the requirement, and not all men have that. But you can have so many women, but the women, they go to that. So 90% of women who go online are pissed off. They're bitter because they say yes to the alpha guy who has those alpha characteristics that they're looking for. And so they'll say yes to that. He can never make a commitment because he didn't go out and win them at all. They're all running after him. So when women pursue you, you become like a playboy. It's like this was a same idea you're putting forth. Years ago, a book was written about the sons of rich men. Is they never had to earn their money, so they're insecure inside, so they can never make a commitment to a woman. Women pursue them because they have so much money. And so they can never commit because they can never bond. You only bond when you follow through. And that was, I think I've gone overtime here. Have I gone overtime? I need to look at my calendar.
Yes, somewhat. Have you got something else? Have you got another commitment, John, right now?
I'm just going to check right now.
Okay.
I'm okay. It's okay. I went overtime. I just have to be done in a few minutes, and then I'll be fine.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Well, we can wrap stuff up.
We'll
Sorry,
we'll wrap it up in 5 minutes.
Yeah. I was listening intently, so
no, it was good. I enjoyed. It was a wonderful conversation. But hormonally, what happens is when you have sex with a girl, your testosterone goes up, your estrogen goes up, and your testosterone comes down. And then what allows your testosterone to come back to normal is you have to pull away. So one of the ideas of Men Are From Mars is when men get close to women, that's estrogen connection. When it hits a certain bell rings, enough connection, it overrides your testosterone. And that's that feel of, I need to get away. It's like why you want to turn over after you have sex or something. You feel claustrophobic if you spend too much time with a woman. Then you need to pull away to rebuild your testosterone. Now, some men have such low testosterone that they're used to low testosterone. They can stay like clingy and needy. But if you have a certain amount of testosterone, you get close to a woman at a certain point, you just want to get away. Not because you don't like her. It's just you need to get away to get back to your high testosterone level because it's separation. It's distance. I'm on my own. It's independence. It's logic. It's goal setting, overcoming challenges, doing the difficult. That's what builds testosterone. So you need to pull away. So men tend to be like rubber bands. We get close to a woman and then we will tend to pull away. And if we start to miss her, it's like a rubber band. And then we get horny and want to get close again. And then if we have sex, then we're going to pull away again. You have to have distance from a woman and know to take that. Women don't understand that. So when you pull away, they get hurt. They feel bad. Why'd you pull away? What's the matter? What are you feeling? Don't tell her what you're feeling. You just say, oh, I'm feeling great. I just need to spend time at my job or have to do this. Give her some nice reason why you need to be away. Not that, she'll say, well, don't you love me? Well, you could say, yeah, I love you or I like you, but you won't feel it at that time because you need to get away from your feelings temporarily. You pull away and then you spring back. And how you bond with a woman is by pulling away, springing back, pulling away, springing back, pulling away, springing back. Because what happens is you're building a relationship with her heart and her mind. Because when you sexually pull away, that's the sex hormones, you're still connected to her in your heart and your mind. If you just have sex a quickie right away with a woman, you've just connected sexually. You don't have no heart connection, no mind connection. And so you ejaculate. There's no juice. There's no connection on a physical level for a while. It's like you blow a fuse. Then there's no connection at all. Then you can be repulsed by her, which is when guys masturbate to porn. Usually they're repulsed to the woman. They don't go back to the same woman. They go from one woman to another because really, when you lose your life force in the presence of somebody, you don't want to go back to that, because that's what you're doing when you do porn. You're losing your male potencies. And number one, that's the other reason why men are not needed. We're in a culture that says men are useless. Women don't need us. So when women needed us, it gives us our testosterone. Now we have an awareness, whether they know it or not, we have to provide them this emotional support we talked about, romantic gestures, the communication gestures, and then the respect by not being angry at them, persistent, but not being angry at them, not reacting negatively, not being emotional, not being weak and needy. You just can't be that. Such a turnoff to a woman. And they'll feed on it in the beginning, makes them feel powerful. Oh, what are you feeling? Well, tell me more. How's that do? And then they'll give you advice and everything. Don't go there. You're in the friend zone then. If you talk about your problems with a woman, you're in the friend zone. If she talks about her problems and you can hear it, don't solve her problems, even just hear it and still be attentive to her and care for her and understand her, give her a hug, that woman's going to want to be with you again and again and again. That's the whole dynamic. So that's where understanding polarity is so important. But the man who pulls away from a woman because he connects with her, he pulls away. And then while he's pulled away, if he masturbates, he loses that sexual potency that makes him want to spring back to her. Okay, you got to build up that potency, which gives you testosterone, by not masturbating. Masturbation will lower your testosterone levels. And over time, it's primarily the reason why every year on an average, men's testosterone levels go down. For me, don't masturbate. My testosterone is at 72. It's 50% higher when I was a young man. And I know other men like this as well. They don't masturbate. They only have sex with the partner they love, not with any stranger or whatever. That builds testosterone over time. And that's how you get a lifetime of it. But get rid of
Dr. Gray, sorry to interrupt. There's one question that I'm very interested in. We've talked a lot about the negative effects. For example, the plastics in the plastic bottles, the less of a requirement for men to look after the family and to step in as that provider figure, amongst other things, access to pornography and everything else. I'm curious, where do you think this all ends up? Is there any way back? Is there any way to regain territory as society's providers and to regain the admiration and the desire of women? Or because we've discussed the emotional realm, what do we need to do to rebalance this polarity between the masculine and feminine? And how likely is that to happen?
Well, it's very likely, and it's happening. People are getting sick of the extremes that we're in now. Winston Churchill said, you can always count on the Americans to do everything wrong and then finally wake up and do the right thing. And you can do that because we do have free speech here. If we didn't have free speech, you'll never change. You have to have free speech to be able to change, so you can hear other points of view and you can express your point of view, which is what we're doing here. And, my books are an answer to that. I don't think they're the only books that are talking about that. I think, in my opinion, if somebody's doing better than me, I would copy them and do it. So I kind of think my ideas are the best. But for some people, they certainly are, with selling over 500 million books. It's a lot of people relate to this and help, but it's still a drop in the bucket when you're seeing our whole culture continuing to decline down. But people are waking up. It's becoming very, very waking up to the reality of men and women really are different, and our conflicts are due to a lack of that connection. And I see we progress to amazing relationships where women can have a masculine side and a feminine side, but they're not burnt out on their male side. And men are just happy having more sex and more romance and more love and more time with their children than ever before in history. So I see what happened for me. I know it happened for me. I know it happens for my clients. So I know it's going to happen in the world. It just takes time.
Okay. Well, I think that's a very good place to leave it. So I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me about this. There's a lot that need refreshing in my mind as well. So I'm very grateful for you coming on. Maybe you could just tell our audience where they can find your resources, your books, and how they might, reach out to you, however is best.
Okay, so marsvenus.com is my website, and there's a lot of stuff there for guys. My daughter has blogs for guys. They're the most people that watch her videos because she's explaining women to guys. Really, it's about understanding how needed you are and how insecure women are that you have no clue about. I also have one called Secret of Great Sex, which is always good to have your sex skills. I wrote a book, Mars, Venus in the Bedroom, to understand sex skills. If you're just watching porn, you don't have the right skills. Okay. So these are skill sets that I teach at marsvenus.com. As a real quickie, though, I suggest beyond this conversation, people go watch my TED Talk, John Gray, Mars Venus TED Talk. I'm in a red shirt. I have done a few. But it's the basic Men Are From Mars idea. So you have a picture of what a healthy relationship looks like and the misinterpretations we have of each other, the sabotage it. So that's there. I also want to know that when you have had your males, see, our genome has male genes. Okay. These genes must be activated. When you don't have a father figure and all these other things we talked about, those genes haven't been activated. Now, I'm suggesting strategies to start activating your testosterone genes versus your estrogen genes. And they work, but they work better if you also give your genome certain ingredients to correct the errors. So the genome has the ability to correct itself based upon our behaviors. And the only supplement I found that actually goes into the genome to assist corrections so that we can find hormonal balance much easier, and I've been promoting this for over 22 years, is orotates. Orotic acid is something that's in mother's milk, and you do a search for it, you won't see much. But if you go to marsvenus.com, you'll see at the top a link, and it will explain the orotates for women, the orotates for men, that will help the genome self-correct to produce the right balance of testosterone, estrogen, progesterone. That's been my experience of helping people for over 22 years. The more out of balance you are, the more quickly you will notice a shift right away. But you have to still make the right decisions. You know, I can tell you this is going to help you lose weight if it's a weight loss thing, but if you still eat a lot of ice cream, no problem. You're not going to lose your weight. So here, women can practice, men can practice these skills, but biologically, what gives you more testosterone, estrogen is the one for men versus the one for women. And that's available at marsvenus.com. It will just be a link to an information page at Amazon where people can order it. You can only order it in America, though. It's illegal everywhere else. But here we have anything that actually is very powerful, they try to keep you away from. But it's legal in America. It's not illegal to take in other countries. So you can have a friend send it to you. You just can't sell it in other countries because certain ingredients that pharmaceuticals don't like you if you take them.
No, that's yeah. Glad you have free speech over there.
Yeah,
I'm doing my best over here, John.
So anyway, yeah, I get it. So if you have friends, they could order it at Amazon and get it there. Yeah.
Sure. Well, I'll put all of those links below in the description, so everyone will have access to all of your links. I very much hope we can have a follow-up because there's so many other things that I'd love to hear your perspective on, particularly young men and actually going out and meeting women.
I would love to do that. And I see how your wisdom is so great as well. I want to also mention to you and to anybody else in Australia. It's Australia? Yes.
So I'm based in the UK.
Okay. Sorry, I got the accent wrong.
That's fine.
And it's still illegal in the UK, unfortunately, my product, but not illegal to use. I do have in England, UK, I have coaches, Mars Venus coaches. And I also have an online Mars Venus coaching program if people want to do a 3-month coaching program that we do online. I'm also going to be, I don't know when this is going to air, but I'm going to be in Dublin for a course as well. That will be on my website. And next month or next couple of months, I'll be there. So people can check that out if they want to go to Dublin and do my 1-day workshop there.
Do you know what date that is?
Don't know it offhand. It's sorry, I wasn't prepared. I didn't realize we're talking England here. So,
that's fine.
But my website has it. It would just be under events at marsvenus.com, and it'll be a 1-day seminar with me. I'd love to see people there.
Great. Well, that will go in the description as well as the first piece because the temptation is very much there for me as well. So
it'll be really fun to meet you there. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Gray. And I really look forward to a follow-up call sometime in the future.
I'm happy to do it, particularly for young people. Oh my gosh, I wish I knew this stuff And people sometimes ask me, what do you really wish you knew as a teenager? It would be, please minimize the masturbation. And if somebody could, if my father could have taught me how to masturbate, because when you're young, you get this penis, feels really good. And the older boys teach you to go up and down. That makes you ejaculate. But if you just learn to go up like this, just stroke it. And after 10 minutes, look at the clock, say, see if I can keep it up for 10 minutes, just stroking, because you'll get bored doing it. You're training yourself not to ejaculate. So when you do have sex later, you'll be able to last, be like a champion. You can last until she's done, as opposed to, 5 strokes and we're over. Every woman's looking for that. Somebody who could last long enough to build up the sexual potency in her. And that's the training. Just simply practice never going up and down. But if he's standing there staring at you, you just, you want to touch it. You don't want to fight it. You just touch it.
Master it.
What's that?
You master it. You master him. You don't let him become the master.
Yeah, exactly right. You master it. And that, and China, they call that sharpening the sword. Okay. Getting it ready. Okay, just sharpening the sword. One day it'll be an amazing tool.
Good stuff. Thanks so much, Dr. Gray. Thank you very much. Take care.
Real pleasure. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.